Welcome to the Agent Upgrade Podcast with your hosts Jasmine, Krnjetin, and Alan Corey, where we learn the strategies of top producing real estate agents so you have the tools to upgrade your own real estate career.
It's Agent Upgrade time with Alan and Jasmine. How you doing, Jasmine?
Hello. We're doing great. How are you?
Good. Excited today. As always, this is the highlight of my week is when we get to meet wonderful, awesome people. So great person in store. We actually just had a great conversation. I wish we were recording it. So we'll pick up soon with our wonderful guests today. But first, wanted to see what's happening in your world. Anything exciting? Any new developments?
Yeah, the most exciting development that we have been working on for months has been we started using a very, very new, very, very awesome CRM system for our mortgage side of the business, and that's been really exciting. It has some fantastic features for our real estate agents, and that has been really fun because the automation is, I've always had a CRM, literally like going back 20 years, there's always been a spreadsheet that evolved into a CRM. So I'm very, very used to like entering all the data, following up with the data, keeping it clean. But now we have all these extra awesome automations that are in place that are going to help us convert leads, and that are also going to help our real estate agents kind of stay in the know with an awesome agent portal. So every real estate agent that we work with gets their own portal, and they can plug in their clients, and automations start off the moment they plug in their client's name. A text gets fired out, an email gets sent out, they get entered in on a campaign. I'm getting notifications to call them, to text them, to email them. The agents are able to pull down their own pre-approval letters. Anytime they need to, they can put in the address, they can change the amount, and you have an overview of your entire pipeline. So every single person you ever refer to us is in there, and you can see the status. Whether it's an actual deal that's an underwriting, that you can see what the appraised value came back at, or if it's just a lead that I'm like, hey, I've been trying to get in touch with these guys for the last few days. So it's been very exciting.
As someone who's just recently saw this and been using it, yeah, I love it. Like I can see that I instead of an intro that's, hey, here's an email, use Jasmine Mortgage Team, I recommend her, but and then I've got to type that all up. That takes some time, get all the email addresses. It's the portal. I just enter it in, and then it does it all automatically for me, and then I don't have to follow up with you. Did Joe call you? Right? I just go to the. I realize now I just go to the portal. Last contacted by your team at this point. This is what they're pre-qualified for. This and all the notes, and it's like, wow, I'm not bothering you. You're not bothering me. We're not bothering that the client is appropriately bothered. Of what the next step is. Kudos to making that decision, because as a somewhat client of yours, like that's been great. And also I've noticed a few fresh emails coming through. I assume it's from the same system, but that's been happy birthday messages to my past clients that appear to be coming from me and you, which is kind of
cool. Yes.
It's not.
They actually get So they get a handwritten note card goes out. A co-branded note card from me and you goes out to every one of our clients for all of our agents on their birthday. But I also send you a reminder about 7 days before their birthday, like, hey, Alan, your client's birthday is coming up. You may want to do something special. And then we'll just send out an email on actual birthday, like, hey, me and Alan, we wish you a happy birthday. So I love that. I love the notice, because I always find out the client's birthday is on Facebook the day of the birthday, and then I'm just reactive. But to be proactive is amazing, And then deliver it like a day before. I think that's more impactful than actually on the birthday when they get too much attention. Like, hey, I remembered and I prepared and I was proactive. So I think one of my favorite features with this CRM is, and I think that this is something that as other agents are evaluating CRMs, the ability to text out of your CRM is gold.
Yeah.
it's a complete game changer, to be able to just fire off a quick email, a quick text, and to have it written into the record. And you can see, oh, I texted them yesterday, and you will not believe, leaving messages for people. I'm sorry, but that no longer does anything. Nobody listens to voicemails anymore.
Right.
But texting somebody a quick, like, hey, blah, 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 instant responses. Like people that I would have normally deaded, I'm like, they're not responding. They're not calling me back. Next thing you know, we're like having an entire text message conversation. I'm literally like getting all of their data from them. Game changer for it to be in a CRM as opposed to me looking it up on the phone, trying to look up the client's name, trying to text.
Yeah. Or they tell me what properties they want on the phone, and then I sit down to map it out through the MLS, and then I've got, it's great to have it all in one location. Or
one location.
You can look at it on your phone within the CRM, or you look at it on the computer within your CRM, but all the information is in one area. I 100% agree with that. That's awesome.
Amazing. Yeah. So CRMs are fun.
Well, an update, like Ross Seligman of Sphere CRM was on a past podcast. I've been trying out his CRM system, and so far only positive news. But we're very new into it, and hasn't fully launched. But the features I'm seeing, the one I like is the one you just mentioned about being a text message within the system, which is a must-have now, I think, with any CRM.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's transition. Let's talk to our guest today. Let's see what sort of CRM he's using, any sort of advice he may have as well. A little background: Nathaniel Getzels is Los Angeles-based, Compass Realtor, has this team out there, very well experienced, can talk about infinity subjects. So I almost feel like this is going to.
Where do we start?
Where do we start? And then also, how many times can we have him back? Because this is going to be great. And he's worked with investors. He's an investor himself. Done it all. Fractional ownership as well, which we've never discussed before. Maybe we'll get into that. I'm just excited to see where this conversation goes. As a real estate nerd, I like to nerd out with other real estate nerds, and I that's a compliment, Nathaniel, if you're listening. So I want him on stage here. I'll bring him in so that we can just nerd out on real estate. That's the goal.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Nathaniel Getzels, thanks for joining us on Agent Upgrade.
Hey, it's my pleasure to be here. I'm really excited. I've been watching your stuff, and it's all really interesting and fun. So it's an honor to be on your show today.
Well, appreciate it. So you're Los Angeles based.
I mean, I don't have as good a dress, colorful as she does, but
I know.
good to have goals.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I love it.
So those listening on my podcast, Jasmine's got a very colorful, I say it looks like a butterfly, but a flower, but it's amazing. Like you're glowing. Like it's great.
Serbia is agreeing with me. Is that what we're saying here? I should stay a little bit longer.
Or maybe if everyone just takes a 60-day vacation, you just start glowing and your fashion choices look better, and you're just more relaxed and all that too. So you got a lot of benefits. Cool. So born and raised in LA, or how did you find your way to California, Nathaniel?
Oh yeah, I was born here in Santa Monica, and we moved to my family home when I was about 3. And then my parents still live there. In fact, they are one of the anomalies. And so born and raised in California, I've traveled all around the world. It's funny because a lot of my friends, they always ask me, well, why are you here in LA? And I said, well, what do you mean? They go, well, you could live anywhere in the world. You're supposed to go and travel and do all that sort of stuff. I'm like, yeah, but you guys live here, right? They're like, yeah. Like, and you moved from somewhere else to come here, right? Yeah. Well, I just started in the right spot. Good.
I just didn't have to leave, right?
Right. It was a good fit for me. So I embraced it, So, but I've been born and raised here, and it's allowed me to have a pretty unique perspective, because most people here in LA, what most people don't realize is most people are not from LA. There's a lot of, it's a big international destination. So there's people from all over, locally and internationally that come in and move through LA, which is obviously one of the reasons it's, is one of the best markets, because there's always turnover and it's pretty high end global turnover. But yeah, born and raised here in LA. I live, a few miles from where I grew up. I moved to a couple other cities first and realized they were not good fits, and moved back.
And were you in real estate in those other cities, or did you start your real estate career?
No. So my real estate career started because I was a teacher before, and I've taught in every level of school from preschool administrator up through college. And so while I was finishing my master's degree, I was getting offered all these great jobs. I'd done all this research. I've had all these impressive positions. And I realized as I finished my master's degree, which I finished the classes, basically 3 years of classes in 1 year with straight A's. And then I was finishing the thesis and I went, I'm getting offered all these great jobs and this all sounds horrible. I mean, it was I couldn't imagine going on like that. So what I did is I sat back and I thought about all the things that I enjoyed, which I still wanted to help people. I always come to every situation of how can I help versus what can I get, right? What can I bring? What can I give? So I was able to do that. Then my guilty pleasure at the time was Zillow, right? Studying that. And then I'd studied where people move, why they move, and how cities grow, which I thought was fascinating. So I went, okay, well, I can help people make either the largest or a large real a financial choice in their life, which for most people will set up their entire families for generational wealth for generations to come, and obviously make their lives better. And then I can still obsess about real estate, right? Which was a selfish goal, but it was good. And also increase my investment portfolio, which I had been doing since I was in college, because I realized that renting was very expensive and I didn't like it. So, even back then we bought a property and I rented out one of the rooms. So when I was in college, I didn't have to pay rent.
Yeah.
So nice.
That's, to me, it's, I say this many times, to be a successful agent, it helps. To me, at least, I think it helps that you're not relying on the income of that deal in front of your client closing to pay your bills, because then you become a desperate agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, then you're instantly in that mindset of scarcity. And actually, I was talking to one of my friends, because I do a lot of referral business throughout the country and the world, but definitely throughout the country. And their pitch to my client was, hey, I sell 30 houses, 40 houses a year. I'm not worried about the paycheck from your house. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to focus. I'm going to give you that service, the white glove service that you deserve. And when it closes, it closes. But I'm not, worried about those dollars paying my bills.
Yeah. Right. And that takes the pressure off, because I think a lot of times agents have that car salesman mentality, reputation, I should say, where it's, hey, they're just going to sell you anything, right?
Oh yeah,
so
right.
If I've never had that conversation directly, but that makes sense. But it's like, hey, I'm here to help you. I always tell clients, I will talk you out of a home all day. But I will never talk you into a home. And so it's the same thing where it's because now I'm relaxed, they're relaxed. And,
right.
We're in this business. We are advising others how to buy real estate. How else can you prove that you're an expert if you own a property or two or three or four yourself and rent them out, right? Then that's going to attract more clients and definitely open the door for investor clients, where I lean very heavily in my career. But I want to switch a little bit more because we do have an LA guy here with LA stories.
I am from LA.
Bring them on. Bring them
Yeah.
on.
You got any sort of like celebrity house sales? Because like that's the TV shows, the $1 Million Listings, the whatever the Malibu show
Oh yeah,
is. Like
I was on that. I was on $1 Million Listing years ago. I have a lot of very interesting clients in all kinds of from CEOs to musicians to actors, to sport
Talent.
athletes, right?
Yeah.
I was like sports players. That's not athletes. That's what they're called. So yeah, I have a litany of different clients, and there's a couple things like so because I didn't base the business on the money side, right, like we were talking about, and the formulas and all that stuff, which is important to understand, but if you base everything on relationships, right, relationship based business is got to be the way to go. And I mean, Chris Voss calls it tactical empathy. Mark Golston calls it listening in, but really it's just attuning with your clients. And if you can build that authentic, real relationship with your clients, then you are able to create a very custom client base because they trust you. They know you're not, just trying to sell them into anything. And when you can build a deeper relationship, a lot of the time, the money is not the biggest factor anymore. So once you take that out of the out of the top of mind of the real estate, it changes the entire story. And so, years ago, I did this research project when I was still in education, and it had to do with just the use of green space and the importance of. So it's accepted that it is healthy and people enjoy using green space, outdoor space, meaning hiking, forest, trails, whatever it is, parks. But to me, what the interesting thing about it that we discovered is the number one factor of if somebody uses green space is proximity and accessibility. So, um, it becomes about the lifestyle. So then once you take money out of the perspective, out of the top of mind, you go, okay, what becomes most important? It's how the house makes you feel.
Yeah.
It's what it's near. It's how it's going to change. Can you brag about the house? Can you? A lot of the time becomes a lot more focused in style, which is a lot of why these higher end homes have so many unique stylized factors to them, because it doesn't matter if that adds 30, 40, $50,000, $1 million to the property. You're talking about a 10, 20, $30 million property.
Right.
It doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
That's not the thing. It's do I get the cool thing? Do I get that feature?
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Like to me, you're selling lifestyles when you're selling homes. It's, hey, this is great for Thanksgiving dinner. This is for cocktail parties. This is for having your dogs run free or whatever it is. Identifying what is important and what, because you're not just buying a house, you're buying into that lifestyle. Like your commute to work is part of that lifestyle. Your neighbors, your what the local coffee shop is. Is it Starbucks or is it a mom and pop? And like that's those add to your brand as a human. I feel like.
Exactly. And also remember, it's usually and almost always not their only property at that point. So it's like, well, I have the beach house in Malibu. I have my regular city house, maybe in Beverly Hills or Bel Air. Maybe I have my retreat nearby.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe in Tahoe or Mammoth or whatever. I mean, some of these houses, like if you look at Broad Beach, which is called Billionaires Beach, most of those houses are only really inhabited a few months out of the year. And either it's because they're rentals and that's the hot months, or it's because people keep their house sitting there maintained and just come for the summer months and then go back. I know one family, they have a house in Beverly Hills, which for those of you in different areas from Malibu, it's 30, 40-minute drive. But they spend the entire year in their Malibu, in their Beverly Hills house, and then go to Malibu 3 months out of the year because that's the time for the beach.
Wow. So the I'm stumbling because to me it's like that repeat client, that's an investor who buys, oh, let me buy another duplex, let me buy another quad or whatever it is. But that's not real estate investing. That's just let's acquire another lifestyle asset, right? Like numbers are you're not putting numbers in a spreadsheet. You're selling, hey, for 3 months you get to live like this, and for 3 months you live like that.
Right. The houses are not like they make their money somewhere else in this case, right?
Yeah.
So the people I'm talking about right now, they make their money in, business and entertainment and whatever it is. And the houses, it doesn't matter if they pencil out, it's about how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
If this house makes me feel good when I go up to it, great. Or if thinking about owning it makes me happy, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
I'm going to spend $10 million because I got a great picture of my house. Right?
And the way I look at it is like, I get to put a press release out, so my name's in the paper. Like it's you're buying news stories and content.
Oh, that's another reason.
Yeah.
Sometimes certain people move every few years just to, be current and show, oh no, we still have money, we're still relevant.
Yeah.
We still have this, we still have that. So
I mean, I sold a house to an actress, and I had to sign a non-disclosure, and then like 10 seconds after closing, it was like in the headlines, and I was like, oh, they wanted to control the story and
Right.
get in the press. And then I pulled up the house that she sold, which was in LA, and she lost for like, it was a terrible investment, like $1.5–2 million on it. And I'm like, why would you even put out a press release saying you lost money on a house? But I think it was worth it to them to let's get the story out of it. Let's get in the headlines. And
it's being relevant, I just had that happen actually a couple months ago. We closed a house that, it wasn't in their name. It wasn't like nothing, like there was all these steps for privacy, right?
Yeah.
NDA after NDA, corporation after corporation that owns the trust, that does the this, that does the that for privacy. And a week later, oh, it's in the news. And I'm sure it was, it usually, not in this case, but usually is their team that just wants to control the story.
Right.
So,
and then the bonus is, please mention your real estate agent name in that story, which usually doesn't happen. But
right. Well, with that NDA, you can't inject it in there. That's the irony. But what you can for workarounds for people who have houses where they're selling them to celebrities, or when there's an NDA involved at all, just market the house and people will figure it out.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, that's where I was going to lead to. Is like, how do you connect to that celebrity? Because there's so many layers of agents and assistants, or that athlete who, like, to me, it's like, are you really ever talking to the athlete? You're talking to that athlete's assistant or entourage. Like,
so that depends.
How do they find you, and how do you find them, and then how do you communicate?
Right. So it really depends. I like, the majority of the people I work with, I deal directly with the client, right? It's not as much there's been a few where I barely even meet the person, but usually, and the way that it usually happens and it works the best is just being authentic, building authentic, organic relationships with people, and then, having them introduce you to either the celebrity or the celebrity's assistant or whatever. I mean, one of my favorite stories ever is I met a guy at the car wash. We're just sitting there washing our cars and talking to this guy, and he's like, yeah. And he was a really nice guy. I like nice people. So really nice guy. And, I was just talking to him, and a few days later he calls me and he goes, hey, my cousin needs a house. Can you help? And I went, well, who's your cousin? And the cousin ended up being a huge celebrity.
Yeah.
And, he goes, yeah, well, because a lot of people at that level, they have this core group outside of the corporate managers and the assistants, and they are very enclosed. But if they have authentic people around them, and that person says, hey, you should talk to this person, if their inside core gives that an authentic, real, referral or relationship extension, then that's the best way to do it. And it's just like in everything else, you build the relationship. You build the relationship with as many people in authentic ways that you can, and you just try to guide the conversations where you become top of mind for real estate in whatever it is. You're not salesy. You're not trying to push the sale, but like what I do is I go to a lot of events because I always kind of did what I like to call social marketing. I don't do geographic marketing. You know, I'm not going and knocking on your door and, you know, I think I've knocked 6 doors. I've got 5 listings from those 6 doors, but I didn't feel it. You know, I didn't flow. It was very profitable, but you know, it's not my style. So I go to a lot of events. So one of the things I do is I have a few little strategies which are authentic but focused.
Mhm.
So I always have 3 things in mind that are relevant, that are interesting, and that I can relatively easily work into a conversation.
Yeah.
So even my friends, like I was just at a wedding the other day, and everybody at the wedding knows me for a long time, authentic friendships, but they all know I'm in real estate and I'm their first call. And why is that? It's because when I go to events and when I meet them, I always work one of these 3 things. And it's usually a current event, an interesting thing, and then something like kind of weird that sticks out in their mind,
Yeah.
because those are the 3 things that people want to know. They want to know current events because they want to know how they can make money or not lose money in the industry or what moves they should make.
Mhm.
The funny thing sticks out because it's probably something they haven't heard. And then the third thing is usually just like either a cool house or something that's going on in the news that relates. So it's 3 things that theoretically they should authentically remember.
Or even better, then they go tell someone else that story. Oh, I heard this thing
Right.
from my agent. Nathaniel, right?
Yeah, right.
Exactly. And then I have top of mind awareness, and then they're sharing me with other people organically, authentically. And that's what happened like with the car wash. I was just talking with him. He was talking about real estate. He was like, "What do you do? What do you do?" You know, there's a lot of reciprocity, right?
Mhm.
So you can drive conversations using reciprocity very often as well. Asking
Mhm.
somebody the question you want them to ask you, or it guides the conversation where you need it to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yes.
when with celebrities, it's no different. And it actually is even more important to create a deep relationship with hopefully them or the person that is close to them that is driving the business.
What's refreshing about this, Nathaniel, is that this is not unique to LA. Like
Right.
everyone wants to. This is universal sales, especially but realtors. Like it's building authentic relationships, being your authentic self, reminding people in a way that you're a realtor without being salesy, with just sharing stories, sharing your life. This is what I
Mhm.
tell people on my team. Like they'll tell me some funny thing that they said a client said or whatever what was in the house, and I'm like, dude, put that on TikTok. Like that's a good story. Like let people hear that or whatever.
Yeah.
Instagram, and it's there's no magic button. It's not the software system. CRM helps, which we do want to ask you about your CRM,
Yeah.
but there's no easy button, right?
Right.
I mean, this is easy. It's just you just do it over and over as many times as possible in many different environments, and then it ripples back to you, kind of thing.
Exactly. And you know, the big thing that a lot of people, a big mistake also that people make in there that is an easy to work around is um, when that relationship's so important, you have to make sure you build it well before you get into the technical stuff about a deal, right?
Mhm.
Like if somebody calls Alan and says, "Hey, I'm sending you this great referral," and you like, "Okay, great," and you talk to the person, and within the first few minutes, you go, "Okay, great. Can you know how much do you want to spend and show me your proof of funds?" They're probably just going to hang up on you. You know,
Right.
so you really have to build that deep relationship and then guide where they're offering you, you know, oh, well, I better send you my proof of funds or connect you with my finance guy or gal or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the key thing. Like you don't even want to talk about money
Oh yeah. Right.
ever,
Right.
because
Right.
money, again, remember, with most of these people, money isn't important. So if you make it important, then it seems like you have a scarcity mindset, and that'll turn people off.
And I separate it because I say I don't need to know about money. That's your conversation with Jasmine, like the mortgage or your mortgage lender. Like that's between you and me or them. Just send me the pre-qualification letter and we're going to roll with it from there. You know, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Even then, you just like, because I almost lost a client. Huge celebrity was referred to me years ago. I was newer in the space, but massively large celebrity, and they called and it's like, okay, great. Well, how much do you want to spend on the house? And they're like, what? We're gonna go. I'm like, what do you mean go? Like, I'm just trying to get a ballpark idea. And they're like, we already told you what we want. Why we don't want to discuss money. And they just hang up. And I was like, oh. And I had to repair that relationship because money was not the issue.
Yeah.
It was the location, the size, the type of house. They didn't even, they thought it was a vile thing to discuss the money.
Huh. Yeah.
I find that like one little question that I like to ask when I talk to clients is, what about like especially like if they're under contract, and I find like there is, especially those first few days, there's so much coming at them, like with inspections and appraisals and documents and all that kind of stuff. And I always like to ground our conversation in like, what about this place feels like home, right? Like bring them into the feeling so that they can kind of like emotionally understand why this is home. Everybody's going to have a different answer to that, but I feel that's one of those questions that really kind of grounds people in their feelings when there's so much stuff going on, data, information, blah 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 blah. They just get like, they feel overwhelmed, and then you just kind of help them, soothe them, and bring them down into like this. Okay, this is why we're doing it. This is our home. Like everything makes sense.
Yeah, you reconnect with the feeling.
It changes. And it changes the conversation from just this building or this house or property to like, this is why we're doing it. And I find that super helpful. Absolutely. So I wanna find out on the techie side of things, how do you keep up with your clients? Do you use spreadsheet software? What's been a good when you're not out socializing and partying?
Right. Well,
that's what you're doing, right? He's like, you're going out to parties, right? To socialize.
Well, I'm going to events and, going to social things. I go to movie premieres, and I go to, the fundraisers and all that sort of stuff at all the fancy homes. And
I love that.
Yeah. It's a fun part of the business for me, luckily.
I love it.
So, but and actually just to touch back on what you were talking about, when you ask them the things, I actually have a checklist of things that when I have newer clients, I have them fill it out so that they can physically see what they want. Like, it's not just me telling them, oh, here's the house. I go, okay. And for my more savvy clients, it's a little sneaky, but I have the checklist, and I just I ask them the questions and I fill it out. And then as we go through the process, I remind them, well, this house has this, or you wanted this thing because why was it again that you wanted that? I know the answer usually because I already have it written down on the checklist or the questionnaire. But, them talking about it, like I said, it reminds them why they wanted. It connects the emotions to the property. It connects the emotions to the transaction, where it's not just a money and physical building, but it's like, I want this because you want that lifestyle, you want that different life. So anyway, just to go back to that. But so you want to know what technical stuff I do, and that's exciting to me because so when I started, when I got my license about 12 years ago, I did none of the things I was told to do, basically. Like, and so what I did is I built my whole business actually out of Facebook at the time. And then I would build all these tech tools through, well, now I was using Google for work and all these different things that I'd kind of just skeleton together that would work for me. And because it was all through social media was the base, that's a great way that I pump everybody in. And I still do. I pump everybody into my social media because it's a great way to connect with my sphere organically, but with just a couple touches. So that's kind of how I based the business. But now I have all kinds of things. Like I'm at Compass, so I have they bought Contactually, so I use Contactually, basically a version of that for my CRM. I pump everything in there, and then we have a pretty cool tech like number of things in the tech space there. And then we have collections and all these cool like things to manage each deal.
Nice. Like
But
as an actual transaction as you're going through, like once they're under contract and so forth.
yeah, and I mean, there's this new thing they launched. It's called Business Tracker, and it literally tracks the entire transaction from start to finish. And it's a one-stop shop. So everything goes into that now, and it's a one-stop shop for the entire transaction. You never have to come off the platform, which is great. But
Nice.
and so, I have tools for likely to sell people and likely to do this, and I have AI tools, and I use those, and they're okay, they're good. But one of my favorite things is I know you guys were talking about texting being so important, which I agree. I'm a texter, right? I had a client years ago, and I think you'll enjoy this, Jasmine. I had a client, and I would call her, right? And her voicemail said, "Hey, just text me. It's not the 1980s. Nobody uses answering machines anymore."
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. That was probably about 8 years ago when people,
Yeah.
hadn't fully switched off the voicemail thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like to
We have a client who just he faxed in literally, I swear, like 200 pages of his tax returns. He faxed it in, and I was
oh
like,
my gosh.
bless you. I mean, that just sounds miserable. Like, I was like, you could just drop it off in a FedEx. If we can do the FedEx thing, and please don't fax. No, it's better to fax. So there is people that still do
FedEx,
that,
you
y'all.
could scan, you could do anything better than
I love it.
faxing. But it is
Faxing.
it's a very secure. It's like I was told it's almost impossible to hack a fax.
A fax, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's why back in 2010, 2011, 2012, when the short sales were huge, a lot of the banks still required faxing.
Yeah.
Oh, fax us these bank statements. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of faxes are e-faxes, so it ends up in somebody's inbox anyway.
Exactly.
Email inbox, right?
And I'd always send an e-fax, so it's like, well, no, this is not any more secure, but okay, whatever.
Okay, let's roll with it, right?
Sometimes you got to play the game. But I like to use text, but I also like to use video. Actually, that's my thing. Is I like video and I like audio messages because you can feel the emotion. Like for me, text is great if it's, hey, I'll be here at this time, or I'll meet you at that time, or I'm setting the appointment. But if I'm really trying to communicate something real, I can't use text because I always come off one way or another. It's either it comes off rude and people are like, are you mad at me?
Yeah.
Or it comes off, you can't feel the emotion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So a voice text, you can hear my voice. So you get if I, you
The
can
tone.
get to feel it. Yeah. The tone, the inflection. And then video, first of all, before I ever meet anybody, if I'm going to an appointment where I've never met the person, I send them a video. I send them a custom video that I record on my phone wearing what I'm going to wear that day that they meet me. So A, they can recognize me, and B, it's very personal and they feel like they know me already.
Yeah.
I also usually try to get them onto my Instagram because I post on there incessantly.
Yeah.
And I do 2 produced videos a week, and then I do 5 stories a day. So, but the video is, you'd be amazed the response for the video. People are like, I already feel like I know you. And I sent them, it's a 10-second, hey, looking forward to seeing you, something personal about them or something I know unique about them. And they're like, I could tell you really made that video for me. And it makes them, to me, like I personally don't like handwritten notes. I know people love them. People really do. People love them. But to me, I don't like them. I don't have a good handwriting. So selfishly, I look like a 2-year-old on crack who sent you something weird.
Right.
Like, what is this mess? It's not cute. It's definitely not a cute look. But the videos to me are so much more personal. And that's the response I get. And because you see and feel and hear, right? You feel the emotion, you see the person and you hear them. I think it's much more effective, and it's one of my favorite modes, which is why I love that I can see both of you right now.
Yeah. So those listening, you go to Getzels Group on Instagram, Getzels Group, Getzels Group. I see why you've got 20,000 followers, Nathaniel. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. My plan right now is to get that down. Actually, everything with my CRM and my contacts, it's all actually about quality over quantity. So now the goal is to half that. And my goal for my CRM actually is to drop it, because I have several thousand people and I only want, ideally, I want to at least have this super group of 200 to 500 people.
A tribe that just loves you, right?
What's
Just
that?
like a smaller tribe that just loves you.
Exactly. Because if you can really take that tribe, even if you get, because theoretically you should be able to get 6, but let's say you get half that, 3. If you get 3 deals from 500 people every year, that's still 1,500 deals. I don't care what level they're at. You're gonna be loving your business.
Well, I had a database of 400 real estate agents that I used to market to religiously for years.
Mhm.
And then after getting emails for about 2 years from me, my now husband contacted me and said, "Hey, can we have a coffee?" So it only took 400, a database of 400 to find a good husband. That's all I'm saying.
There you go. Now we know the formula.
Now you
for
know the
everyone looking for a
formula.
husband.
Just stick to it for years. All you need is 400.
400 touches. Just 400 touches.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah, but we've kind of gone through the same thing with our data as we have been switching from our old CRM to the new CRM. We just want to have good data, right? Like you can, when I looked up my database, literally, like you just mentioned, 20,000, like literally we have 20,000 contacts in our old CRM. And I'm like, this is swag. Like I want, I narrowed it down to about 5,000. And I was like, okay, we're going to have 5,000 people in our database that we can actually physically manage to send out birthday cards and touches and email campaigns and do mortgage reviews and that kind of stuff. But I like the idea of fewer followers and just kind of
it's extra important on social media as well now, because look at Instagram, for example. Your posts are only going to go to 10% of the people.
Yeah.
So you want the right 10% to see it, because if those people then interact, then it'll go to a few more and a few more and a few more percent and a few more percent. But if nobody interacts, then it just gets pushed to the bottom. And if you're wasting that 10% of that post reach to the 10% that are not real, are not engaging, or are not possible clients, or real relationships, then you wasted it, and you're just posting for yourself. It's just a vanity play.
I guess I'm curious about your strategy on social media. Like, what kind of things do you like to post about? And do you have like do you just wake up and say, I'm going to post 5 stories, or is this like really well thought out? Like, this is what I want to push out there.
Right. So the stories are very authentic, and it's has to do with whatever is going on in the day or what I'm feeling, or I want to, I'm thinking about this pretty house I was in. So I post a picture of that. I'll post a video about what I'm doing, where I am. If I see something cool, interesting, relevant, I'll repost other people's videos as well. I'll share things. I'll share friends' businesses. I'll share listings, buyers, whatever. So that the stories, there's always 5 of them. I always kind of there's an outline in my head of things that I do or won't do. Like I took a class years ago that it taught me to create an outline for my marketing. So all of my marketing, it became very easy, because it's the same rules from my personal branding to my business branding, and it all kind of has an outline. So a lot of times people have analysis paralysis, and they get stuck because they don't know, oh, is this good to post? Is this not good to post? Is it appropriate? Is it not appropriate? But I have a rubric, like an outline that I created through this branding course. Actually, that's very good. I really recommend it. It's a great course. But
what's the course?
You know, I will pull up the name. I was trying to think of it as I was there. It's I
Okay.
think it's called Reveal You. Reveal You.
Okay.
It's Sandy Grigsby. I'll send you a link to it. Sandy Grigsby. If you look her up on LinkedIn, is the best. But anyway, so the it gave me an outline. So for the stories, I have an outline, and then for the posts, what I do is I meet with my video guy, and we shoot once every couple months or once a month. It used to be once a month. Now it's once every couple months because everybody's traveling. But you know, we'll have a list of, we're going to do 20 videos, 30 videos, and then he'll edit them all together. And then we pump those out twice a week at the times and days that my AI said the most, I get the most engagement. And that's what I've done for, I mean, I think I've done it consistently for a couple of years. Sometimes the timing and the number of videos change, but I always just need to have something that has an item of value that I think people will find interesting and useful. And, you know, that has something to do with real estate.
Yeah, no, value. It all social
value.
media, it's all value, right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's not bragging. It's not look at me. It's hey, someone needs to take something from it that they can apply it to their life, kind of thing.
Right. Like if you notice on my posts, I almost never post sold, for sale, for listed, sold. I mean, we could do that all day, but that's just nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's not helping you to know I sold this.
Yeah. Right.
So if it's something cool, like if it's a really pretty house that I can make a very pretty video, sometimes I'll bend that rule and I'll be like, look at this cool house. Right. But it's because it's pretty. It's not just going sold, listed, for sale. Those things I'll put in my stories. They'll come and go. They're not evergreens. The evergreens are things of high value that are authentic and not too polished, because what I noticed is I used to do highly produced videos with 3 angles and edits and it's social media. That's not social. That's a very corporate feel, and nobody would connect with it. Didn't feel authentic.
Yeah, I find that even like when I first started doing video, I was doing them in my office, and I find that even doing it in my office, like when I see other people post videos that are like in their off, it just feels immediately, it feels kind of like off-putting. It feels like pre-thought or not authentic. Like it's almost like if you are not sitting in a perfectly, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like you want it to be pleasing, but you don't want it to be perfect. Like
right, you don't you want it, you don't want it to be ugly, but you don't want it to feel overly polished and corporate.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Because then the moment it feels like I've even noticed sometimes when people will post things and then they'll have like their little logo, like compass in the bottom of the video or whatever, like just seeing the logo immediately makes me feel like you are trying to sell me something.
Right. It takes you off. It takes you out.
It just instantly, I'm just like, okay, he's just trying to sell me something, you know,
Exactly.
as opposed to like, as opposed to just feeling like, hey, I just had this realization. I just experienced this story with a client that I want to share with you. And I'm finding that for me, that seems to be where where I feel very authentic in my social media. That's how even though I was very, very scared when we first started. I was like, Alan, I'm not ever going to be able to do this. Like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And then all of a sudden I'm like, you know, next thing you know, I'm just like, oh, this is a great story. Like 14 seconds later, it's on every page we have, you know?
Right. All of a sudden you're like, I love it. Okay. This is
I love it. This is awesome.
Absolutely. Well, you know, that's why I love Podcast Cola, because it allows me to be on a lot of podcasts, on a lot of shows, and a lot of exposure, but authentically, right? Where it's there is no, I don't even know what we're going to talk about moment to moment, right? So it's just authentic it out there, and then people see that and they feel like they get to know you, and they you know, they'll be attracted to you. They're gravitated if you attune with them.
So real quick, Podcast Cola's podcast booking agency.
It is, yeah, and they are they have a specialty with real estate agents. It's one of their focuses for people in real estate, investors, agents. It's great. It's yeah, they build like a whole PR package for you, and it looked like, I even looked at it and went, wow, I look fancy. Like, that looks great. Like, I'd want to meet me too.
I love it.
Well, yeah, that must be possibly how we connected. But yeah, like I got your thing, and I was like, yeah, I have a million questions for this guy. This looks great.
Yeah, I couldn't build that myself.
Yeah. One of those questions, completely sort of changing gears, is it says you have experience in fractional ownership. One, can you explain them what that is, and two, how does a real estate agent sort of play in that role, and sort of your thoughts and feelings on fractional ownership in real estate?
Absolutely, yeah. So I actually am an advisor on several companies, as well as sell real estate, and so one of the companies is actually a fractional real estate company. So what fractional real estate is, it's where you own a small portion, or any portion actually, of a property. So let's say the three of us, or let's say the two of you own a property, and it's gone up from $1 million to $2 million, right? Now, the way that you get that additional $1 million out, right, the equity build, you'd either have to sell the property, you'd have to do a cash out refi, right? Or you'd have to take some sort of loan and pull the money out.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
HELOC or whatever. Exactly. So the other way is you can sell a fraction of that equity, which means, let's say, you have $1 million equity, you could sell $500,000 of that equity. So now it's not a loan. It's not a loan at all. You're literally selling that portion of the equity, and you're getting the $500,000 in your pocket. You don't have to pay it back. There's no interest. It's as though you took on like a silent partner onto the property, right? So, I mean, fractional equity you could buy a property that way. Like, each of us could own a third of the property. It just means a fraction.
But that joint owner doesn't have access to the property, or do they?
No, they don't have access to the property. It's like a silent partner who just owns just the equity portion.
And then you're paying that person some sort of percentage of payments like you would a mortgage loan.
No, not at all. What you do is, when you sell the property, just the amount that their part of the equity grew, they would get that gain. So you don't pay them on that, because it's not a loan. They're literally purchasing that from you.
So they're basically saying, here's $1 million. Congrats. You're saying, well, here's $1 million worth of my property. And then if that, they get a third of the property, right? And then if that appreciates another $1 million, they made $333,000, and Jasmine and I still make $333,000 each, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And the nice thing is, it's not a loan. You're not paying interest. There's not payments. You just have the money. So you can literally sell a piece of the house without having to, change the use or the ownership.
Yeah. So you're
just like a silent partner, really.
Yeah. You're selling the upside, but they're potentially, to me, it's like, why would someone want to buy that fraction? Because there could be downsides. Like, I could put $1 million, and if that house goes down in value, then I've lost my money, and I'm not getting monthly payments.
That's the same question with every piece of real estate. Then you shouldn't invest in any real estate, because it could always go down, right?
Well, at least I'm getting cash flow. Like this, the investor is not making any cash flow.
Well, the investor's not making cash flow. That's true. But so here's one of the ways that you can buy and sell that equity to somebody else. So let's say it goes up, and now that
third party
$333,000 is worth $600,000. Maybe you sell it to another investor. And so the idea of the company I was an advisor on is they wanted to tokenize that. They wanted to pool the equity and then tokenize it, and then you could buy and sell the tokens, like on a crypto
NFT.
exchange.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't think they quite got to that part of it yet, but if you look at things like pension funds, investments that have a very long like timetable to them, that's who tends to be attracted to fractional equity, because they're not that you're right. Realistically, they're not going to get their money out until that house trades.
Yeah.
And there is a risk, because if it trades in a down market, they could lose. But the idea is that who wants to sell their house if it goes down in value? Usually that's not when somebody sells the house. It's when there's a profit. So
Right.
then if the owner's profiting, the investor's profiting, and everybody wins.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't just go down. Like everybody goes down if the property goes down in value. So
Yeah.
So it's usually beneficial to sell it in an upswing than a downswing.
Right. I see all upside for the original owners of a property in this situation. I don't see any upside for the investor that comes in late.
Well, the upside is they build the cash on, they build the equity. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to maintain the property, right? It's still insured. It's still, so it's a very passive way to build cash on cash return on a property that you don't have to deal with. You don't have a lot of risk because it's insured. They're maintaining the property, they're living in it. So, I mean, obviously, if you're doing it in an investment, a second home, a third home, it has a higher risk profile.
Right.
But also very often you're paid out at the time. There's a few points that the investor will get. So let's say you're selling $500,000 of the equity. Well, really you're getting, $490, let's say. Right. So it's like a little bump on that end.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess as long as you can sell your share off at any time, and if should you need to cash out in 5 years and the property is not going to sell for 30, as long as you have the option of selling your share.
And that's the upside and that's the downside. You do have an option to sell it, but it's really not a very liquid investment. It's hard to sell that. It can.
You have to find somebody to take your spot.
Right, but an institutional investor or like pension funds or things that aren't looking to pull out the return but need to look good on their books over time, because if you wait long enough, it's going to be worth more. Real estate over time goes up, right?
Yeah.
Long term.
If you wait enough time.
Yeah. But to me as an investor, I'm not a pension fund, but like it's if I have something, if I'm buying something that's illiquid, I want a discount. So I want $1 million equity that I'm buying for 700,000 because I'm taking risk because I can't get rid of this thing. And I'm not getting payments on the 700,000 like I would if I took that 700,000 and put it, and I could go buy a house in cash for $700,000. That's going to appreciate, right? And
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But if you're an institutional investor, you want to diversify, and this is part of your portfolio. Look, if you give me $700,000, I'm going to buy 7 houses. I'm going to put $100,000 on each house. I'm going to buy an STR in, for example, a short-term rental in, Palm Desert. We just did one like this. Actually, we bought it for, my partner bought it for $950, put $100,000 down, and he's going to get $250,000 gross off that property every year, and he's going to net about $150.
Yeah. That's how you real estate.
That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm like, I want the cash flow and the cash on cash. I want the ability to sell. I want all the things. But pension funds, they have different things. Like pension funds, they invest in studios. They invest in like a movie studio. I mean, they invest in these huge, long-term, big picture numbers. And that's who's really more attracted to the fractional equity. It's great for the homeowner because they can pull their money out and they're not having to pay interest.
That's the win right there. 100%. Yeah. I love that part. Cool. Nathaniel, this has been awesome. People coming to LA, people want to have questions for you, want to talk about all these things. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. The best 2 ways are my Instagram at Getzels Group, Getzels Group, and all my other info's on there, my phone number, my email, all that stuff. You can cyber stalk me a million different ways. And then when you come to LA, I can tell you all these things about all these secret spots in LA, where the movies were filmed, why that house is there and not on the other side of the street, all kinds of fun little things. I have all these different facts about areas where people have lived there their whole life. They don't even know what happened on the rock above them, or that there's a cave over there they could dive down into, or something fun like that. So
I love it.
That's awesome as a realtor when you're showing a house and you're like, oh, did you know that this land trust is back here that no one can build on, or that have those sort of nuggets. So you could probably sell that tour, the Getzels group tour.
The Getzels group tour.
Yeah,
that's my backup plan.
I love it. That's wonderful. Well, it was so nice to connect with you. Thank you so much for being on our show. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I'd love to come back anytime. Let me know.
Yeah, we'll have you back. This has been great.
Terrific.
Super fun.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Agent Upgrade Podcast. If you are an agent looking for a new mortgage lender, start with Jasmine at jasmineteam.com. If you want to learn about real estate investing and working with investors, check in with Alan at thehouseofac.com. See you next time on Agent Upgrade.